Vanna White has been gracing television screens across America for decades. But there's a lot you probably don't know about the Wheel of Fortune star. Here's Vanna White's transformation over the years. White was born in South Carolina in 1957, and she was raised in the town of North Myrtle Beach, she told Grand Strand magazine. Growing up in a small town like North Myrtle Beach was awesome and to my benefit. I've taken that small town girl and same morals to Hollywood, and still I feel I'm not that different. White has Latin roots, as her father was born in Cuba and her grandparents are from Spain. Her father left when she was born and her parents divorced when she was an infant, according to biography. White was instead raised by her mother and her stepfather, Herbert White Jr., who legally adopted her when she was 3 years old. It wasn't until White was 12 years old that she learned Herbert was not her biological father. However, it doesn't seem to have made too much of a difference to White. She later said on Larry King Live, "My stepfather, Herbert, is really my father. He's raised me from the time I was 3. After graduating from high school, White moved to Atlanta, Georgia for college. She enrolled in and attended the Atlanta School for Fashion and Design, and she studied topics like fashion merchandising and poise, according to CBS Sunday Morning, with the ultimate goal of becoming a professional model. Luckily, White's college education worked in her favor, since much of her role on Wheel of Fortune calls for her to be poised on camera.
I'm a professional model, and I'd like to advance my career in this business, and I enjoy meeting people.
After attending college in Atlanta, White made the decision to head to Hollywood, and like so many young college graduates, her finances were low. In her interview with CBS Sunday Morning, she said, "I had $1,000 to my name, $300 for the car, $700 for the apartment, and a job immediately, waitressing." White's foray into the world of professional modeling would prove difficult on the West Coast, and she struggled to find work, just as many others do when they arrive in Los Angeles. She told biography, "I couldn't pay the rent, and I was too proud to ask my dad for rent money. So I did some lingerie shots." Before White became a nightly fixture on our television screens, she first appeared on another beloved daytime TV game show. In 1980, she was a contestant on The Price is Right. She was 23 years old at the time and brand new to Los Angeles. Unfortunately, White's time on The Price is Right wasn't very successful. She told Yahoo Superfan in 2016, "I didn't win a doggone thing, except for those lovely parting gifts." The most memorable part of her appearance on the game show was being called out by Bob Barker. He told her that she probably wasn't doing too well with her price guesses because she kept looking at herself in the monitor. However, White had a different version of the story to tell. She explained, "I was looking at my friend to get an answer from her. It just looked like I was looking in the monitor." After making the decision to go to Los Angeles in her early 20s, White unfortunately wasn't able to stay long. Shortly after arriving in LA, White discovered that her mother was incredibly ill. She was sick with ovarian cancer, according to Grand Strand magazine, and she was not expected to live long. In her interview on Larry King Live, she said, "It was very tough. I went back home. I took care of the situation, and then I came back out here, raring to go." When asked if the toughest loss of all was her mother, White responded, "Absolutely." White was very close with her mother, and she has always remembered her through all of her successes. On Mother's Day 2015, she wrote in an Instagram post, "My mom Joan was the best mother ever. I love you with all my heart. You will always be with me in spirit." White's big break in Hollywood came in the early 1980s when she landed the co-host gig of Wheel of Fortune. White auditioned with 200 other women to fill the spot left vacant by the previous co-host. Merv Griffin, the show's creator, was the one to ultimately decide on White as the new co-host. Pat Sajak actually didn't recommend White and has since said that he told Griffin not to select her. He told CBS Sunday Morning, "Not that she wasn't lovely and wonderful and personable and all that, but she was the most nervous, by far, of any of them." Griffin didn't listen to Sajak, and the rest, as they say, is history.
I asked Merv, I said, "So why did you choose me?" And he said, "Because you turn the letters better than anyone else."
White has been co-hosting Wheel of Fortune with Sajak for decades. Shortly after White made her debut on the game show, Vanna Mania swept the nation. The American people couldn't get enough of the beautiful woman turning the letters with a big smile on her face. When asked by CBS Sunday Morning about when she knew that she had made it big, White said, "That was when I was in the grocery line checking out, and I was on the cover of Newsweek. I thought, wow, I guess I've made it. In 1987, White experienced both a career high and a career low. She released her autobiography entitled Vanna Speaks. The cheeky title poked fun at her mostly silent role on the popular TV game show. However, White's book release was overshadowed by bigger news. That year's May issue of Playboy magazine featured White on the cover, and America was shocked, to say the least. When White had first arrived in Los Angeles, she had taken some risque lingerie photos to pay her rent. Those photos were purchased by Playboy's Hugh Hefner, who put them both as a spread in his magazine and on the cover. According to Time magazine, White told Fox News, "He's the one who put me on the cover of the magazine. I didn't do it for Playboy." Luckily, the network behind Wheel of Fortune did not take action against White, who shared with Fox News, "I was very thankful that I had such support behind me." Soon enough, the American public forgave and forgot White's scandalous photographs. After the devastating passing of her fiancé in a plane crash in 1986, White found love with restaurateur George Santopietro, and White and Pietro got married. In 1992, the couple had an exciting announcement, and of course, White took advantage of her day job to tell the world in a fun way. On an episode of Wheel of Fortune in 1992, a contestant solved a puzzle with the answer, "Vanna's pregnant," according to the Los Angeles Times. It was a lovely way to share the news, but unfortunately, her announcement was premature. White suffered a miscarriage shortly after. In an interview with Closer Weekly, White said, "I was so ready to be a mother. I don't know how you describe that loss." In the face of such tragedy, White remembered the words her own mother had shared with her. She shared, "Never give up no matter what. Follow your heart and follow your dream." And that's what I did. After a number of tragic losses, it's easy to think that White would lose motivation to keep trying to expand her family. However, she didn't let the death of her mother and her miscarriage defeat her. In 1994, she and her husband welcomed a healthy baby boy named Nicholas. A couple years later, White gave birth to a daughter named Giovanna, according to Closer Weekly. White and Pietro were now a family of 4, and White had finally achieved her dream of becoming a mother 2 times over. She told the publication, "We're faced with a lot of positives and negatives, and we have to accept them and do whatever we can to get through it. Life is not perfect. Just try to make the best of it. Be strong, be kind to people, and be happy." Unfortunately, White and Pietro would later divorce. After an engagement and breakup from a businessman named Michael Kay, White would settle into a relationship with contractor John Donaldson. When asked for the proudest accomplishment of her career by Larry King during a segment on Larry King Now, White said that getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame was her #1 achievement. It's understandable she was so proud of it, considering not everyone in entertainment is given the honor. White received her star in April 2006, after more than 20 years of appearing on Wheel of Fortune. At the ceremony celebrating the reveal of her star, she said, "I remember my parents telling me at the age of 10, 'You can do anything you want.' Dad, we did it." White was joined by her father, her co-host Pat Sajak, Wheel of Fortune creator Merv Griffin, and Jeopardy host Alex Trebek when she was presented with her star, which was the 2,309th star on the Walk of Fame. White became a spokesperson for Lion Brand Yarn after first discussing her love of crochet on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, with guest host Joan Rivers in 1986. Her knowledge of crochet grew even more when she released her own collection with Lion Brand Yarn in 2007 called Vanna's Choice.
She knows not to mess with my yarn when I'm crocheting.
White had first learned how to crochet when she was 5 years old, and her grandmother was the one who taught her how to do it. Years later on Wheel of Fortune, White saw her hairdresser crocheting on set. She picked up the hobby again after getting a refresher from her hairdresser, and later taught her daughter how to crochet too. In an interview with Etsy, she said, "Whenever I have downtime on the set, I crochet. I find it very relaxing and I have something to show for the time I've spent doing it." White donates half of her yarn's proceeds. By 2016, she donated more than $1,700,000 to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. In 2013, White received an immense honor. She officially became the world's most frequent clapper. On an episode of Wheel of Fortune in May 2013, a representative from the Guinness Book of World Records presented White with the record certificate. The rep said, It was an honor to present this record to White and recognize her for the encouragement she has given contestants for the past 30 seasons on Wheel of Fortune. Guinness stated that as of January 31st, 2013, White had clapped 3,480,864 times over 30 seasons of Wheel of Fortune. This number was reached by averaging 606 claps per episode. That sure is a lot of clapping, and White was recognized for the unbelievable accomplishment during the show's taping. Since White's record of more than 3 million claps was achieved in 2013, after 30 years of filming the TV game show, the number is certain to be significantly higher now.
I love my job. I love the show.
White is known for her wardrobe on Wheel of Fortune. The game show co-host spends every episode decked out in a fabulous dress with high heels. White's dresses always manage to awe and inspire, but what is truly impressive is that in more than 35 years of filming, she has never worn the same dress twice. As White shared on The Wendy Williams Show, the count of how many dresses she has worn was believed to be around 6,500 in 2017. And that number just continues to rise as the show continues. Before taping begins, White tries on a minimum of 50 dresses before selecting the ones that she will wear for the show, according to ABC News. With Wheel of Fortune recording 6 shows in one day, White has about 10 minutes to change dresses between show tapings. While White isn't allowed to keep the dresses, according to InStyle, she does have some favorites after years of wearing so many different styles. It seems she selects her favorites due to their practicality. She told ABC News, "I like wearing the short ones best, just because I don't trip." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more list videos about your favorite TV personalities are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.